Hey guys, it's Mike here with another video. This time we're doing the QR2 Pro install for the wheel side. And here you just see a basic unboxing. It comes all wrapped up along with some tools. But yeah, there's really not much to it at this point. There's no like electronics that you have to worry about that come with it anyway. And yeah, you'll see here I take it out and the action's pretty smooth. They're built really nice. This is really well machined stuff. You see here that's how the mechanism works, has those two bars that grab on to the base side, and yeah, once it's on there, it's really secure, and as you shake it, there's absolutely like no kind of rattle or anything like that. So it's a really well thought out QR. Now, before we get into this walkthrough, one thing that I want to point out is that everybody should watch the Fanatec video that shows their install of the QR2 for the wheel side, as well as read their manual, which is mostly pictorial in nature, but I think it's worth looking at. But yeah, here's the kit. And one key thing to point out is that it's not completely clear to a lot of folks which screws to use, and we will touch on that point in this video. Now for this example, we're going to be using a Formula V 2.5. Here we have the old QR1 on there, and we're taking that off. What I like to do is just loosen them all up first. For this particular wheel, it uses 4 bolts, and you just unscrew them as you would expect. And then what's left is the shaft in the middle that contains all of the pins. And this part is going to be a little bit trickier, just in that you need to know what you're doing here. So you want to take all of these bolts out, but these are not the same bolts that you're going to replace with the new version. The other thing to point out is that metal disc, we're going to get rid of that as well. I would of course save it in case you ever have to sell your gear and the person wants to restore it back to a QR1. So make sure that you save these bolts and that metal disc as well. But as you'll see soon, we're going to replace that with one of the plastic washers that comes in the QR2 kit. Now here's that plastic washer that I was telling you about. So that goes on next. Here's my torque wrench. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But first I want to talk about this bolt that comes with the kit. This is a Torx head bolt, and so you're going to need a special bit to drive this. It does come with a special screwdriver for it. But if you want to use it with a torque wrench, you need your own bit. So I just want to repeat here, you want to use these bolts that come with the kit. You don't want to reuse the old bolts. There is an important exception here though, and that's if you have any of these wheels in this list, you want to use the bolts that came with it. So just reuse those bolts instead of the ones that came with the QR2. And aside from that, it's pretty basic. You just need to pop those in and torque them down. Now back to the torque wrench. So what's going on here is the manual is calling for 1 Newton meter of torque. That's not a lot of torque. That's going to be roughly equivalent to what you can torque down with the long end of an Allen key. In this particular case, they give you a screwdriver. It's very tiny. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just make sure that they're tight. I use a torque wrench here anyway, which is probably overkill. But when you're doing all of this, do make sure that you're careful of those pins. For those who haven't used a torque wrench before, this is basically how they work. You set a torque limit, and this particular model, it will beep when you hit the limit. Other models will have like a mechanical thing that makes a click. But yeah, you get the idea. Next, we want to place the QR2 itself on there. Now this part is important. It can only go on there one way. There is an up and there is a down. So you'll see here that the flat part goes on the bottom. There's more rounded part on the top. And I should also point out that in my case, it was a little bit snug when I got it on there. Just go slow. Just make sure you don't force it too hard. Yeah, and then you just thread in the bolts with your fingers. Make sure you get all 4 in the case of this wheel, but other wheels are going to use all 6. Now in this case, I'm using the torque wrench again. This time it's calling for 3 Newton meters. So if you remember, that's now 3 times more force than the previous bolts. I recommend a torque wrench for this part if you can source one. Otherwise, you're probably fine. Just make them nice and tight and don't overdo it. After you're done tightening down those bolts and you feel good about them, next thing to do is test it out and you're done. As long as it works and everything feels solid, you're good to go. If you want to learn more about the QR2 base side install, I have another video here that I'll link to. If you have a question or comment, please leave it down below. And if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.